What's up, guys? I'm your boy Diego, welcoming you to the Foot and Fist Sports Network, where today we're going to be talking about the fight fallout from UFC 207, and it was a pretty damn good card. I wasn't too excited about the main event, but it actually turned out to be pretty satisfying, and I got a nice laugh about it. So let's go ahead and talk about where the main people from the fight should go on next in their careers. Starting off with Ronda Rousey, the person on pretty much everybody's name when it comes to mainstream media or casual fans. As I expected, and I know that my prediction video didn't go out there because it was too late for me to do it, but I will put it up here probably after this video so you can see which fights I got right. I promise you I did this last night at 1 a.m. You'll see in the video. And a few of my picks were wrong, so I didn't just make them afterwards to make myself seem like I got them all right. But I predicted that Ronda Rousey was going to get destroyed in her fight with Amanda Nunes, and it was exactly what I expected. She got mauled from the very first punch. She was rocked by the first punch, and her striking was just exposed once again for being piss poor. So there's really only one thing I would recommend Ronda Rousey doing, and that's retiring and getting the fuck out before her brain gets really, really battered, because her striking is so shit. She has no chance of competing with anybody in the top of this division or 145. I don't think there's any way possible she can make 115, and I think that she would just get mauled by Joanna there too. So I really don't see any progression for Ronda Rousey's career. So it's time for her to just retire, go try to do movies, but really, who wants a chick that gets destroyed all the time? So, is her movie career over because of this, or does she still have some kind of draw? Let me know in the comment section down below. I think that having been destroyed and knocked the fuck out twice, well, this time she was on her feet, but Herb Dean saved her from getting knocked the fuck out. But anyway, after taking two brutal beatings, I think that her career, movie-wise as well, has taken a big hit. So I think that she just needs to retire and do whatever she can to make money and to maintain her celebrity before she just keeps on getting worse and worse until her brain is even more mush than it already is. Because let's just be honest, she was never a bright woman. She was never smart. Now she's just going to be as dumb as it gets. Well, at least not now, but it's just going to get worse and worse. Anybody who's dating Travis Brown must be an idiot. Now let's talk about the champion, Amanda Nunes, who went out there and did what, like I said, I expected to happen. And it was just shocking to see her as the underdog going into the fight. I honestly couldn't understand that, because she's better at every discipline of MMA. She's just much better in every martial art, except for maybe the armbar aspect of things, but everything else, she is just way better than Ronda Rousey. So to see her, the champion, as such a big underdog was kind of hilarious to me, and I should have bet money on it. I was actually originally going to put €20 on it, but I didn't realize it was a Friday. It was going to be on a Friday fight until like 2 days earlier, so I fucked up there. Yeah. I should have put money on it. I would have won some cash. Probably not a whole lot with $20, but it would have been something. But yeah, I think that Amanda Nunes' next defense should be the winner of Valentina Shevchenko's fight, which I think that Shevchenko will eventually get the win in there. So I think that her next opponent is going to be Valentina Shevchenko. I'm not a huge fan of the 135-pound women division. I'm a lot more of a fan of the 115-pound, but this one, because of Amanda Nunes having such, basically good striking and being such a dangerous fighter for that division, it is more interesting. And Valentina Shevchenko, who demolished Holly Holm, completely shut her down in her fight against Holm, really impressed me. So I think that's going to be one hell of a fight, and that's probably the most fun fight the UFC women, at least the 135-pound, can do. Basically, without Cyborg or without Joanna, Amanda Nunes is the most entertaining fighter there. So that's going to be fun to watch. Now I want to talk about the new Bantamweight champion for the men's side, Cody Garbrandt, who honestly surprised me in a big way against Dominick Cruz. Now, don't get me wrong, I always expected that Cody Garbrandt had a lot of talent, and I expected him to eventually be a very high level and be able to compete with a guy like Dominick Cruz, but I had a lot of questions over whether he'd be able to do it so early in his career. And what can I say? His defense was amazing, and he basically used the perfect game plan to beat Dominick Cruz. He just made Dominick Cruz go to him, and he caught him going in and hurt him with some pretty nice shots. So there was just a very, very solid performance all around. And I think that the best fight the UFC can make for that division right now is Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw. There's a lot of bad blood there between Tim Alpha Male and Elevation and Uriah Faber, TJ Dillashaw. And Cody Garbrandt and TJ Dillashaw have been talking a lot of shit about each other lately. My cat's bothering me, as always. So yeah, they've been talking a lot of shit about each other lately. So I think that would be a very fun fight, especially because TJ Dillashaw put on an amazing performance against John Lineker. And I think that's probably the best fight that can happen in that division, especially because Dominick Cruz seems like he wants to take at least 6 months off to sort of just get things back in line and work his way to where he can really figure out a way to beat Cody Garbrandt, because we all know that Dominick Cruz is very analytical and he's very obsessive about dismantling a person's abilities and figuring out exactly what to do to beat that guy. So I think he's going to take about 6 months off have TJ fight him first, and then he'll face the winner of that fight. If not, then maybe Dominick Cruz will fight John Lineker. But that's pretty much the only two options for Dominick Cruz. But as for Cody Garbrandt, like I said, I think TJ Dillashaw is next. Excuse me. So yeah, TJ Dillashaw versus Cody Garbrandt, and Dominick Cruz versus John Lineker, or Dominick Cruz waiting. That's what those four guys should do next. And just to go on John Lineker real fast, after losing to TJ Dillashaw, I think that if the UFC doesn't give him Dominick Cruz, then he needs to fight somebody that's a little bit lower ranked, like somebody like Rafael Assunção, who very recently was number 2 in the world, and I think that would be a pretty interesting fight. Nothing else really comes to mind for me at 135 of people that could really be in the mix right there. I kind of would have liked to see him fight Uriah Faber, just to see what he can do against a really top-level opponent, well, apart from TJ Dillashaw, and see what he could do against somebody who's just a little bit lower level than TJ. But obviously Uriah Faber's retired, so let's leave him alone. So yeah, I think that somebody like Rafael Assunção would be an interesting opponent for John Lineker. So now we already talked about Dominick Cruz, TJ, John Lineker, and Cody Garbrandt all in that little spot. Now I want to talk about Johny Hendricks, who was very disappointing once again. A few years ago, like 2014, this guy was competing with Robbie Lawler, and he looked like a guy who could really put everything together and be a very dominant champion at welterweight, or at least be one of the top 3 guys. And now he loses fight after fight, and he misses weight every single time. So, I mean, after seeing him struggle so much and seeing him miss weight all these times, I'm starting to think that, like he said, I think it was not this fight, but before his last one, that the motivation just isn't there anymore. He's already been a champion. He was a great wrestler. He had a failed business, so that's probably bothering him as well. And just, you never know. I mean, USADA coming in has really changed a lot of people's careers, and Johny Hendricks is one of those guys that has really taken a bad turn for the worst since USADA came in. So you never know. He might have been on steroids or something like that. But the bottom line is he hasn't been putting in the effort, or at least that's what it seems like to me. He hasn't been putting in the effort to make weight, to really train hard to get into the perfect shape that he can be in. And that might also be the fact that he's getting older, and he probably just doesn't have the motivation to do it anymore. He's a very thick guy, but he's also a very short guy, so he's going to be very short at middleweight, and he's just too big to make weight at 170, at least without having to really kill himself. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think that it's either time for him to move up to 185 and see what he can do there, maybe take one fight, or it's time for him to retire, because he clearly doesn't have the desire that he used to have to be a world champion. And now let's talk about Magny, who beat Johny Hendricks. It was a decision, but it was a very entertaining fight, at least, for the welterweight division, and what it really means for there, because beating Johny Hendricks, even though he isn't quite as good as he used to be, is still a big deal. And Magny's been on a great run lately with, I think like one loss in between quite a few wins. So he has been on a tear, and I think that right now he has pretty much earned himself a fight with one of the top 4 or 5 guys in that division. Now, it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen, because it depends on what Robbie Lawler is going to do, and there's a lot of options right there, and there's a lot of people that we aren't necessarily sure of what they're going to do next. So I'm going to go ahead and wait for that. If they don't want to give him like a top 5 guy, then maybe put him against Don Hyun Kim. That's weird. Don Hyun Kim or Tarek Saffiedine, because Tarek Saffiedine, in my opinion, probably should have gotten that W. But Dong Hyun Kim is also a very, very, very talented fighter at welterweight. So put him against one of those two guys if you don't want to give him a top contender, and see what he can do against one of them, and then eventually give him, or the other guy, whoever wins that fight, a big name fighter that really put themselves into contention for the title. And that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about here. Am I missing anything? Not that I can think of. The opener. Oh, yeah, Louis Smolka kind of lost. That was pretty surprising for me. Ray Borg did a very good job there beating him. I was disappointed because I really like Smolka's style, and I think that he has a lot of talent. But at the same time, Ray Borg is a very talented guy. So there's a lot of pretty solid prospects in that division. I look forward to seeing what can happen at flyweight, because of the fact that it's kind of stagnant, with Demetrius Johnson just so much better than everybody else. And if Joe Benavidez doesn't beat him, then there's really nobody else that can in that division. So Louis Smolka and Ray Borg are pretty much the main prospects for him, in my opinion, for that division, for the future of the flyweight division. Once maybe Demetrius Johnson starts moving up the super fights, and eventually maybe even decides to move up to bantamweight, and after clearing out the division and trying his hand there, even though I think that he's just too small for that division, so he probably will, in the long run, stay a flyweight and see what he can do there. So guys, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and please share it on any MMA forums or any friends you have that love MMA or stuff like that. Anybody that you think would be interested, that's a big help for me, and I would be very, very thankful for you to do that. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and, let me know in the comment section down below who you want to see fight for the Bantamweight title and the Women's Bantamweight title, and what do you think is going on with Johny Hendricks. Is it USADA, or is he just not trying as hard as he can? Let me know. And if you guys enjoyed the video, then I will definitely see you in the next one, and I'll see you then.